A wealthy woman arrived at her luxury hotel for a surprise inspection. But the moment she stepped out of her car, she froze. Sitting near the gate, with a cracked plastic
Please,
bowl in her
help
hand,
me.
was an elderly woman begging for food.
I am so hungry.
At first, she wanted to walk past. But then she looked again.
I know those eyes.
That face.
It
those
is you,
tired
isn't it?
eyes, that voice. Could it really be the same woman who once saved her life? The same woman who protected her when the whole world turned against her? How did such a strong and kind woman end up begging outside the gate of a hotel owned by the very child she once rescued? Stay with me till the end, because this story will touch your heart. Story begins. It was a bright Monday morning in Accra, Ghana. The city was already alive with noise. Cars moved slowly through traffic. Street vendors shouted from the roadside. And in the middle of that busy city stood one of the most beautiful hotels around, Golden Palm Grand Hotel. The hotel was known for luxury. Its marble floors shone like mirrors. Its glass doors sparkled in the sun. Politicians, businessmen, celebrities, and tourists all came there. And the owner of that hotel was a young woman named Amara Mensah. Amara was rich, elegant, and respected. People admired her success. Many said she was one of the youngest self-made hotel owners in the city. But only Amara knew how hard life had been before she reached that level. That morning, she had decided not to inform the hotel staff that she was coming. She wanted to inspect the place herself. Her black SUV rolled toward the hotel gate. The security guards quickly straightened their uniforms. The car stopped. The driver stepped out and opened the door. Amara came down, wearing a simple but expensive cream-colored dress, dark sunglasses, and low heels. She looked calm, confident, in control. But before she could take 2 steps, her eyes fell on an old woman sitting near the edge of the gate wall. The woman's wrapper was faded. Her slippers were broken. Her hands trembled slightly as she held out a small bowl. "Madam, please, even if it is just a little food," the old woman said weakly. Amara stopped. Something about that voice made her chest tighten. She turned slowly and looked more closely. The woman raised her head, and Amara's breath caught. No, it could not be. But the more she looked, the more certain she became. That scar near the eyebrow, that gentle but weary face, those same eyes that had once looked at her with love. Amara removed her sunglasses. Her lips parted. "Auntie Efua?" The old woman frowned and squinted. For a second she looked confused. Then suddenly, her eyes widened. "Amara?" she said in disbelief. The bowl slipped from her hand. It hit the ground. Amara felt as if the whole world had gone silent. The guards looked at each other, confused. The manager, who had just rushed out to welcome Amara, stopped in his tracks. Amara did not care. She moved closer, her eyes already filling with tears. "Auntie Efua, what happened to you?" The old woman tried to smile, but her lips shook. "My child," she said softly. "So this is where God brought you." Amara knelt right there, in front of the hotel gate, without caring who was watching. This was the woman who had once stood between her and destruction. The woman who had fed her when she had nothing. The woman who had hidden her when danger came. And now that same woman was sitting on the bare ground, begging outside her gate. Amara felt pain rise inside her. "Auntie, stand up, please. You cannot stay here." The old woman hesitated. "My clothes are dirty," she said quietly. I do not want to stain you. Amara shook her head immediately. I do not care about that. She held her hand gently, the same hand that had once held hers when she was just a frightened little girl. Slowly, Auntie Afua stood up. Amara turned to the hotel manager. Clear my morning schedule, she said firmly. Cancel every meeting. I am not seeing anyone until tomorrow. Yes, madam, the manager replied quickly. Amara then turned back to the old woman. Come inside with me. The old woman looked at the giant hotel building and then at herself. Her eyes filled with shame. I do not belong in a place like this. Amara held her hand tighter. You belong wherever I am, she said. Then she led her inside. Flashback setup. As they entered the quiet VIP lounge, Amara ordered warm food, tea, clean clothes, and water for bathing. She sat across from Auntie Afua and kept staring at her, as if afraid she would disappear again. For a few moments, neither of them spoke. Then, Auntie Afua sighed deeply. Life has a way of turning people into strangers, she said. Amara shook her head. Not you. Never you. Those words opened a door in both their hearts, and little by little, the past returned. Years earlier, before the money, before the hotel, before the fame, Amara had been just a little girl in Kumasi. Her father, Amara Mensah, was a successful cocoa trader. Her mother, Linda, was beautiful, soft-spoken, and loving. They lived in a large house with servants, drivers, and comfort. Amara was their only child. She was joyful and playful. Everywhere she went, she carried a doll with one missing eye. Life seemed perfect. But behind the polished walls of that beautiful home, envy was growing. Kojo's younger brother, Ya, believed that he deserved part of Kojo's wealth. He smiled in public, but bitterness lived inside him. When Kojo refused to hand over control of his business, Ya grew more dangerous. Then tragedy struck. One rainy evening, Amara's parents were returning from a family event when their car was involved in a terrible crash on the highway. By morning, they were both dead. Amara was only 8 years old. The whole house turned into a place of mourning. People cried, visitors came and went. But after the funeral, the real battle began. Ya moved quickly. He took documents. He entered offices. He told people he would now manage everything until Amara became an adult. But his plan was never to protect her. His plan was to remove her. At that time, Auntie Afua worked in the house as a cook and caretaker. She was not highly educated. She was not rich. But she had a clean heart. She loved Amara like her own child. And one night, she overheard something that changed everything. Ya was speaking in a low voice to another man in the compound. She is too young to fight, he said. If the girl disappears, everything becomes easier. Auntie Afua felt cold all over. She stood in the dark, shaking. At first, she prayed she had heard wrong. But the next day, she noticed strange things. A new man hanging around the compound, locked files disappearing, Amara being watched too closely. Then she knew the danger was real. That night, when everyone slept, Auntie Afua woke Amara quietly. My child, she whispered, do not make a sound. Amara rubbed her eyes. Auntie, where are we going? To safety, she replied. Amara did not understand, but she trusted her. Auntie Efua wrapped a shawl around the child, took a small bag, and used the back door to leave the house. They walked through muddy side roads in darkness. Dogs barked in the distance. Amara was scared. She kept asking for her mother. Each time, Auntie Efua swallowed her tears and said, "I am here." She took Amara to a poor part of town where her cousin lived in a one-room house. That was where they hid. From that moment, life changed completely. Gone were the big rooms, the soft beds, the fine food. Now there was one thin mattress, one kerosene stove, and water fetched in buckets. But Auntie Efua did not abandon her. She sold fried yam by the roadside during the day. She washed clothes for people. She cleaned market stalls. And every night, she came home with something small for Amara to eat. Sometimes it was only porridge. Sometimes it was bread and tea. Sometimes nothing was enough. But she always made sure the child ate first. Amara grew up in hardship, but she grew up loved. Auntie Efua enrolled her in a modest school. The fees were often late. Sometimes Amara was sent home. Each time, Auntie Efua would beg for more time, work another job, or borrow money to keep her there. "You must study," she would always say. "Knowledge is something nobody can steal." Amara listened. She studied hard, very hard. She became one of the best students in her class. Teachers praised her. Neighbors admired her discipline. And though she was still young, Amara understood something painful. Auntie Efua was suffering for her. So she made herself a promise. One day, she would change both their lives. When Amara was 17, a major opportunity came. Her school announced an international scholarship competition for outstanding African students who had leadership potential. The scholarship could cover university tuition in the United Kingdom. Amara was excited, but there was one problem. The application process was expensive. There were forms, travel costs to Accra for the interview, passport fees, document certification. They had almost nothing. Amara nearly gave up, but Auntie Efua refused. "This is your door," she said. "You must knock on it." To raise the money, Auntie Efua sold the small plot of land she had inherited from her late mother. It was the only thing she had that could have secured her old age. She sold it without hesitation. When Amara found out, she cried. "Auntie, why would you do that?" Auntie Efua smiled. "Land can wait. Your future cannot." Amara applied. She wrote the exams. She sat for the interviews. She answered with courage and intelligence. Weeks later, the result came. She had won. Both of them screamed, cried, and held each other. For the first time in years, hope felt real. Before Amara left Ghana, she knelt before Auntie Efua. "I will come back for you," she promised. "I will never forget what you have done." Auntie Efua touched her head gently. "I do not need repayment. Just become a good woman." Amara left for London. At first, life there was difficult. The scholarship covered tuition, but not everything else. She worked part-time jobs. She cleaned tables. She stocked shelves. She studied late into the night. Sometimes she slept only a few hours. But she kept pushing. She graduated with honors in hospitality and business management. Then she got a job at a hotel chain. She learned quickly. She saved aggressively. Years passed. She built connections. She started a small travel and lodging service for African tourists. It grew. Then she invested in a guest house. That guest house became profitable. Then another property came. Then another. Eventually, she returned to Ghana and launched Golden Palm Grand Hotel. She had become successful. Very successful. But one thing kept disturbing her heart. She could not find Auntie Afua. At first, they spoke on the phone. Then one day, the number stopped going through. Amara asked old neighbors. Nothing. She visited the old area. Auntie Afua had left. No clear address. No trace. Amara searched for months after returning home. Then months turned into years. Still nothing. And now, after all that time, she had found her. Not in comfort, not in peace, but outside her own gate, begging. Back in the VIP lounge, Auntie Afua finished eating slowly. Amara watched her with a heavy heart. Then, she asked the question she had been holding back. "Auntie, how did you end up there?" Auntie Afua placed the cup down carefully. Her hands were still weak. After a long silence, she began. "After you left, things were manageable for some time," she said. "I kept selling food. I managed. I even moved into a better room." Amara nodded quietly. "Then I fell sick. It started with constant tiredness, then dizziness, then pain in her legs. Hospital visits became frequent. Tests cost money. Medicine cost money. The little savings disappeared. But that was not the worst part. One afternoon, a young man from the old neighborhood came to visit. He claimed he had a business opportunity. He said if Auntie Afua joined a savings group and invested some money, she could double it in a few months. At first, she refused, but he kept returning. He spoke kindly. He called her mother. He made it sound safe. And because she was desperate to build a more stable future before Amara returned, she agreed. She put in the little money she had, then more, then borrowed some. It was all a lie. The man disappeared with everything. Amara closed her eyes. Pain crossed her face. Auntie Afua continued. After that, rent became difficult. Food became difficult. My strength reduced. I could no longer stand in the market all day. She looked down at her fingers. I moved from one place to another. Sometimes good people helped me. Sometimes nobody cared. "Why didn't you ask for help?" Amara asked through tears. "I tried to find you," Auntie Afua replied. "But I had lost your number when my small phone was stolen in a trotro." Amara leaned back, speechless. "I thought maybe you had forgotten me," the old woman added quietly. Amara sat up immediately. "Forgotten you? Never!" Tears fell freely from her eyes now. "I searched for you. I looked everywhere." Auntie Afua's eyes softened. "Then God wanted us to meet today." Amara stood up and walked to her. She knelt again and took both her hands. "Listen to me," she said firmly. "Everything changes from today." Restoration Arc. That same afternoon, Amara called her private doctor. A full medical checkup was arranged. She instructed staff to prepare the best guest suite, but later changed her mind. "No," she said. "Not a guest suite. Prepare the family wing beside mine." The staff understood immediately that this woman was no ordinary visitor. Amara bought Auntie Afua new clothes, new shoes, warm blankets, a phone, and most importantly, peace. But that was not all. Over the next few days, Amara kept thinking about what Auntie Afua had sacrificed. A home, comfort, security, a future of her own. All because she chose to save a child that was not even hers by blood. Amara felt that simply giving her a room in the hotel was not enough. So she made a bigger decision. One evening, she invited Auntie Ifua to the hotel garden. The lights were soft. The flowers were glowing under the evening sky. A small table had been arranged there. A few trusted staff members stood at a respectful distance. Auntie Ifua came slowly, dressed in a beautiful blue African print gown. She looked healthier already, stronger. Still humble, but no longer broken. Amara stood before her holding a folder. "Auntie," she said, her voice emotional. "All my life I have carried one prayer, that I would find you again and honor you properly." Auntie Ifua looked confused. Amara opened the folder and brought out documents. "I have purchased a house for you," she said. The old woman blinked. "What?" "A fully paid house, small, beautiful, peaceful. It is yours." Auntie Ifua stared at her as if she had not heard well. Amara continued, "And I have also created a monthly allowance in your name. You will never beg again. You will never struggle for food or rent again." Tears gathered in Auntie Ifua's eyes instantly. She shook her head slowly. "My child, this is too much." Amara's voice broke. "It is still less than what you gave me." The old woman covered her mouth and began to cry. Amara moved closer. "You saved my life," she said. "You protected me when evil wanted me gone. You fed me when you were hungry. You educated me when you had nothing. If I spent the rest of my life thanking you, it still would not be enough." Auntie Ifua could no longer hold herself back. She pulled Amara into a tight embrace. Both of them wept openly. Even some staff members wiped their eyes. After a while, Auntie Ifua looked at her and said softly, "I prayed that you would become a good woman. God gave me more than I asked for." Amara smiled through tears. "No, Auntie. God used you first." Final emotional closure. A few weeks later, Amara took Auntie Ifua to see the house. It was painted cream and brown. It had a small garden in front, a peaceful sitting room, 2 bedrooms, a kitchen with new cabinets. Nothing too flashy, just warm, dignified, and safe. Exactly what Auntie Ifua deserved. When they entered, the old woman touched the wall gently, as if making sure it was real. "This is mine?" she whispered. Amara nodded. "Yes, yours." Auntie Ifua turned slowly and looked at her for a long time. Then she said words Amara would never forget. "When I picked you up that night, I thought I was saving a child. I did not know I was planting a seed." From that day forward, Auntie Ifua no longer sat outside gates asking strangers for help. She woke up in peace. She ate in peace. She laughed again, and every Sunday she visited the hotel. Not as a beggar, but as family. The staff called her Mama Ifua. They greeted her with respect. And whenever Amara saw her walking through the lobby with quiet dignity, her heart felt full. Because success meant nothing if gratitude was missing. Because the people who lift us in our darkest hours must never be forgotten when the light finally comes. Moral and call to action. My dear friends, never forget those who stood by you when you had nothing. Some people may not share your blood, but they help shape your destiny. If someone sacrificed for you, honor them while you still can. A grateful heart is one of the clearest signs of true greatness. If this story touched you, share your thoughts in the comments. And if you believe kindness always finds its way back, then like this video and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Don't forget to subscribe for more powerful African stories.